Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say.
Go. Welcome everyone to another spectacular episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today on Thrive Loud, I'm getting excited because I get to have one of my favorite types of episodes, and that's when I get a chance to reconnect with the Thrive Loud alum, someone who's been on this program before. She's the founder of Executive Essentials. She's a certified speaking professional. She's the author of 4 incredible books about connecting. For the second year in a row, she was selected as a top 30 communications professional by global gurus. She is one of the best in this particular space. She is also the co-founder of the Connected Leader Club, which we're going to talk about more on this program today. She loves her amazing boys who are growing up way too fast. She loves animals, and she's an adrenaline junkie, believe it or not. Thrive Loud listeners, please welcome my connecting sister from another mister, the Michelle Tillis Lederman. Michelle, welcome back to Thrive Loud.
I love that. They are growing up way too fast.
It's so true, right? You get to that stage where you're like, remember when they were little and you're responsible for them, and all of a sudden they're doing their own things, which is awesome. It's because you're doing such a great job as a super mom, as a super coach. Here's what I want to do for our listeners here. I have to do what I call the little rewind. I want to go back a little bit and bring everyone up to speed. Let's talk about what you've been focusing on the last few years, specifically the types of groups you're working with and coaching, and maybe even some of the things that you're seeing, because you have a great purview into what great leaders are working on today.
Well, it's really interesting because the last few years is, COVID and coming out of COVID. And there was obviously a big shift in the workplace and in people not just being fully remote, but then coming back to this hybrid environment and onboarding. And so there's been such a shift in how all of that happens. And about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I wrote a new program called Intentional Connection in a Hybrid World. And it has become really one of the most popular ones I have, because everyone's trying to figure out how to do this. How do we connect when we are not seeing each other at the water cooler? And how do we connect when we actually aren't in the office ever? Yeah. So that's one of my focuses these days.
Let's talk about this a little bit. In some of the companies you're dealing with, give me some of maybe like the common problems that organizations you're seeing. What are the things, because they're not connected together? What's the result, or what result is not happening because of the fact that maybe they're not connecting in the workplace the way they could?
Well, it's interesting. I have a niece who graduated from college about a year ago. She's got this great job at a consulting firm, loves it. But those people who have been working for a while have really earned the flexibility and really appreciate and value the flexibility they now have for working from home and going to this, school play, and they're not always there in the middle of the day. And these newer kids who are really focused on the job are not getting the responsiveness that they need from their leaders. And they haven't yet earned that flexibility, nor do they necessarily need that same level of flexibility. And so the communication lag and the timeliness of responses and some of those things are really causing frustrations. There is a difference in how we are onboarded. And that's one of the things I've been kind of working with some organizations on, designing an onboarding process, even if remote, that can imitate what we do in person, right? We always go to lunch on somebody's first day and we all hang out. Well, we can do that online. It's a little different. We're all going to be in the Brady Bunch box. You know what I'm talking about.
Brady Bunch boxes. I totally get that.
And we'll be eating and, still kind of going through those things where you see somebody's face or you're doing something that makes you feel connected, because we are losing connection to the organization and we're losing connection to our colleagues.
How can we help our leaders keep that level of connection? What are some of the things that I want to get specifically on like helping leaders understand how important this is and how we can help them try to make that part of the culture? Obviously, doing the virtual lunch thing is one thing, but lots of ways that they can work each day because they're together sometimes they're not, sometimes it's all remote. Help these people understand how they can be better leaders and better connect to their people.
Well, I think you made the point, which is the most important point, is for them to understand why it is so important. So, when it comes to productivity, engagement, loyalty, retention, did I say productivity? Because that bears repeating if I didn't. But all of that comes from our connection to our work and to the people that we work with. And so understanding the value of that. And by the way, all of that engagement leads to productivity, which leads to the bottom line. So this is a financial impact on many fronts. So once we understand the importance of it, understand that it's done differently now. And we need to think really intentionally about what are the things that we do when we are in person, because most organizations are having some in person, even if it's just once a month our team comes together because we're all over the place. But what are the things that we need to prioritize for when we are together versus the things that we need to do because we're not in person anymore? So we need to build into the agenda some of that water cooler time. Thinking about how we enable connection, how are we inclusive, right? We get on that Zoom call and two people were on it already and they're in the middle of a conversation and I'm sitting there eavesdropping, listening, but I'm not part of it. So really being very aware of being inclusive as people come on and bringing them into that conversation, rotating the responsibility of those agenda items that are for connection purposes. So it's not the leader's responsibility every single time, but to share that, which also gives people exposure and comfort and opportunity. So there's lots of little things that we can build in. We want to engineer time for those aspects and understand that it's not wasted time.
If I'm a leader and I know what it used to be like, but there's all these new people entering the world and we want to try and make it what the new way of leading should be, what are some of the ways that we can maybe help the younger generation basically understand maybe ways to give that different perspective? I know you work across organizations and help them to try to connect. You're the connection guru. Nobody brings this together better than you.
I'm not sure that we need to make the newer generation understand how it used to be, because that's not how it is anymore. Right. And I think maybe the older generation needs to let go a little bit of how it used to be, embrace how it is now. There's a concept called relational equity that I came up with at some point over the pandemic, because we were able to so quickly move from fully in person to fully remote during COVID because of the relational equity that we had built up over time working together. And when we don't have that in-person, that anecdotal, that bump into each other, see you here, there, and in the parking lot, we haven't built up the same level of relational equity. So I think the older generation needs to think about, how do I build relational equity with people who I am not seeing on a daily basis?
Listeners need to know that she took a question that I wasn't going to ask her and knocked it out of the park, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to squelch what I was talking about and go through it. Okay, now I want to talk about this new thing that you've created. I want to lead into it, really. I mentioned at the opening that you are the co-founder of the Connected Leader Club. Can you share with the listeners kind of what sparked the idea of bringing this thing into the world? Because I think that is probably one of the cooler, inspiring stories that I think a lot of our listeners can relate to and will understand.
I would love to. And do your listeners know who the other co-founder is, or should I just let that come in time?
You could let that come with time, or we'll bring it together. How about that?
So somewhere over the pandemic, I get reached out to a lot for people who want coaching. And most of my coaching is done B2B. I work with organizations and I coach leaders within those organizations. And so when somebody's looking for what I call retail or individual coaching, I'm happy to, give a few minutes of my time or, give whatever advice I can, but that's not typically the work I take on. So a friend of a friend said, will you talk to my brother-in-law? And I said, of course, I'm happy to help. But I put in the email, I don't do this type of coaching, but let me see how I can help you. And maybe I can help you identify a coach. Lovely talk. At the end of the conversation, he's like, but I want to work with you. And I said, I'm sorry, this is, I don't really take on retail clients. And he wouldn't take no for an answer. And he wore me down. And I said, okay, I'll work with you for 1 month and get you going. And at the end of that month, in a emotional conversation, he told me I changed his life in holding back tears. And it moved me. It moved me so much that it inspired me to realize I needed to serve this audience as well. But I also am only one person, so I can't take on all these clients. And so that was the impetus for this kind of germination of the idea of the Connected Leaders Club, and being able to provide a price palatable and a capacity palatable for me community that enables people to get the coaching that they need, and the community and the support and the expertise in a way that was not having me, working 24/7. And then I realized I didn't want to do it alone. And I kind of know this guy that feels like a brother from another mother when it comes to connecting. And he made this kind of flippant comment, the Lou and Michelle show, and you kind of get where I'm going here.
So listeners need to know that the co-founder is yours truly. And Michelle and I met last summer, literally as she just described this problem. And to be honest, both of us had been seeing a need out there, whether through our conversations with people, through who we work with and our clients, that there was this window of people that might not have been able to be getting the level of coaching or expertise that is out there. And maybe more importantly, where we focus on maybe senior organizations or larger companies, and not everyone has access to it in their company, we kind of wanted to literally connect the two connecting worlds that we have, my connecting sister, connecting brother, bring it all together. And that's what, as she said, I love the word germinated, created the germinated idea of the Connected Leader Club. Why don't you share, Michelle, better from you? What is this Connected Leader Club all about? And what is it all about? And we're serving ourselves up here, but maybe you can explain what goes on in it.
So the idea is that we want to bring people together that are kind of in the same place. And think about, as you hear who is going to be invited into this community, if it's you. Are you somebody that has a minimum of 10 years work experience? Are you somebody who is working your way up that ladder, but might be kind of not quite as high up as you want to be, or kind of feels like the next rung is a little bit out of reach? Are you somebody who has always been driven, a high potential individual, and understands the value of relationships? And that's the kind of person that's going to be part of this community. The way we think about this is we want people to kind of be with a common language and coming from a common mindset. And so we created the Connected Leader course, which is an 8-week semi-synchronous learning journey that brings people through the aspects, mindsets, skills, attributes of a connected leader, so that once you complete the course, you are then invited into the community, which is that ongoing support system, network of peer mentors, friend-tors, accountability partners, buddy coaches, and yours truly, the two of us, expert coaches, with monthly, actually bi-monthly group calls. And we bring in our extensive expert network to kind of throw a little spice into it.
So what we'll do, we'll get to the plug section in a second here. What I will say to the listeners is, if you think about and you look at all the bio stuff you'll see on Michelle in this particular episode, and for the things you've heard on from me throughout the years, imagine putting together a soup, if you would, or a stew of all of the lessons and the ways that we have it. We have a lot of overlap that we connect, but we also have some unique ways of going about it. A tremendous amount of content and the thing you can work on, ways you get in the right mindset. And we realized if we push that all together and come together with our connected ideals, if you would, you can put all of this together to help grow your own business, grow your own career path, and obviously even improve your lives, as you've heard Michelle talk about others. And it's been, I'm going to say this, listeners, it has been so much fun working on this. A lot of work has to go into doing stuff that we know we want to put together from two different worlds, but I've been waiting to do this episode for months now, because I can't wait to have Michelle on the show so we could talk about it. I want to ask you the question, this will be fun here. All right, when you're putting together a new venture and you're putting together a new thing, what have you liked about doing it? And what has been just like, oh my God, a little bit more work maybe than you anticipated?
What surprised me is how aligned you and I are.
Yeah.
I know you just took yourself off screen.
I'll come back on screen there. Now we're back on. I was doing it for the listeners will learn. Yeah.
This is a partnership.
Yeah.
And, when I told Lou the idea when we were in Florida at this conference, and he jokingly said the Lou and Michelle show, and I thought, well, let's have a conversation. And as we had a conversation, we realized how complementary our skill sets and our passions were. Yeah. So we have both overlap, but we have those differences. And for me, one of the joys of the process has been how aligned we were on things like the logo or, the layout of the website. Because people get really opinionated about those things, and yet our minds were just so aligned, which made it so easy. And the fact that he likes to do this marketing stuff, and that's kind of his communication and his connection expertise has always come from a little bit of a sales side. Mine hasn't at all. And so I can learn from you and learn with you, and I can focus on the things that are my sweet spot. And yes, I am a recovering CPA, so I am the CFO.
And a level of detail oriented, which I have now learned to say, wow, oh my goodness, let's get that right. So and she appreciates all of that, which is cool, right? What I was going to say is the joy for anyone to find a right partner is always difficult, but also to recognize the areas where we don't overlap, which was also great, right? We had discussions about, okay, you got to focus on this, or you have to focus on that. For anyone who wants to understand the value of what your team needs to be like, Michelle and I deployed everything that we're teaching in the Connected Leader course in our own working together in coming up with the Connected Leader Club. It's pretty crazy, right? I mean, I think about that all the time. I'm like, oh, we did that chapter. We did that module.
It is so true. And I love that as well, because we are modeling the way. We are walking the talk. And, when it comes to trust, that's one of the modules of the Connected Leader course, because to me and to you and to everyone, trust is the linchpin of connection and the ability to be a connected leader, and understanding that trust is fluid and trust is a choice and trust is situational. And we talked through, yes, we trust each other, but let's make sure that there's never a reason that we wouldn't. And putting those things in place to give us even more security around that leap of trust that we already took.
Yeah. One last plug about when Michelle has so much content, incredible content. And obviously in producing the material we put together for the program, I was reading through it like a student would. And I would hear the way that she would message it. And what I will say to listeners who are out there saying, hey, what does being a connected leader mean? And what is the value that it adds? That to say that we're giving you value within this whole thing is just unbelievable, because I was educated. I'm like, oh my God, I never thought of it this way. And we would mesh and meld those things together, which is what great connectors do. And I think when we looked at this and said, I think we're creating a platform of people not only like us, but can value that in their organizations. With that, yeah, go ahead. Here I am. She's got more to say.
No, I was just I literally over here on the side, I just pulled up the website that is just gone live, which is so exciting. And I'm looking at the modules of the course. And if people are like, well, what is it? And we just gave a little allusion to one of the modules being trust, but I'm just gonna read through. We start with your leadership brand, and for you to get really clear on how you want to be known. And we don't spend enough time determining and driving how we want to be seen. And that is critical. And so that is a foundation. And then we build some skills. We talk about learning to listen, to embrace our curiosity. We talk about communication from a few different aspects, from communicating and collaborating to dealing with diverse personalities and styles and flexing and being clear and focused and intentional. So there's 2 modules on communication because obviously it's such a critical component, and Global Gurus said I'm kind of good at it.
Top 30 in the world, people.
I moved up 4 slots since last year. It was very exciting. So then we talk about that trust piece and how that impacts morale, loyalty, retention, all that good stuff. We talk about how leaders are really coaches, and how do we have that coaching conversation, and what are the differences between a leader, a manager, and a coach. And then, of course, there would not be a Connected Leader course if we didn't talk about connection and having a relationship first mindset. And all of that in between, we will meet live and get you to that final place of creating a plan, right? So great, we have all these foundations, but how are you going to take it forward? Because if you don't build habits into your leadership, it'll be like, well, that was fun and that was interesting, and I'll keep 1 or 2 little things. No, we want this to become a shift, not into something you do, but to someone you are. And that's what we're building.
So we're going to do the plug section here, probably jointly together. So where can everybody learn about this, Michelle?
Well, that new website that just went live is called connectedleaderclub.com. And that is the place to start, to register, to join, and to make sure that you are qualified, so to speak, to be able to not just learn from the community, but to contribute to the community. One of the things that we do here is it's a give-get. We want you to be adding value to other members of the community, and we want you to ask for what you need. And we have set up a format for you to be able to do that.
Awesome.
I know I wasn't plugging. I'm just so excited.
And I'm going to say this, listeners, one of the cool things about the seat that I have on this show is that we connect with great people. And Michelle and I connected years ago as professional speakers and overlapping as coaches, to be able to not only connect with her, but also to be able to share what we're doing with everybody else is incredibly exciting. And we're very pumped about all of this. So as you can tell, that's why we made a featured episode about this. So I'm excited to have her back. Okay, we got the plug section there. We'll send all the links. Everyone can check it out in here. And we have our at the time of this, you will learn if you potentially can be included in the first few cohorts that we're setting up there. So stay tuned and check out the website when you can.
Yes, connectedleaderclub.com. I'm a terrible plugger. And we are looking to select our first cohort in March, and kicking off late March, maybe early April. We're once we have the right first cohort. But that's our timing, and that's the website, and this is our enthusiasm.
All right, so listeners, I get to do a fun thing. We're going to go down Fun Street here with Michelle. We did this a long time ago. She came on the show, but we're gonna like refresh it because many of the listeners, that was hundreds of episodes ago, believe it or not.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Michelle. So let's start off. Is there a favorite movie that you like to maybe rewatch? Like if it's on, like, oh my God, I gotta go watch that show. Is there a movie that you have that's like in your, if it's on, I'm in. Like you're totally.
There's a few of them, and they tend to be musicals like Blues Brothers or Grease or Hairspray or Little Shop of Horrors. I can watch those again and again and again.
I gotta tell you, I saw Hairspray, both the movie and the musical on Broadway. I think that's the greatest closing number of any musical show. It is the most exciting, You Can't Stop the Beat. Like, I think that might be the music we play underneath here. It is, I literally think there's no other show that gets you up and dancing as much. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. The movie is even more amazing. Michelle Pfeiffer kills it as the mother of the female lead and whoever it is in the show. It's really, really good. Okay.
Now what about the closing song of Grease? Now, like they're all in my head and I want to start dancing. So, okay, yes. But yes, all of them. Yeah, love them.
Okay, so we're going to do the speed round here. And this is how this works. I'm going to ask you a question. First thing that comes to your mind, Michelle, these things lift you up. They motivate you. Basically, they make you thrive. Ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, of late, like recently right now, a song that you love to hear or one that maybe pumps you up.
It is not a recent one, but you said the first thing came to my mind, and it's Happy by Pharrell.
Ah, love that song. A favorite food that is not a dessert.
Oh, cookie dough can be a meal.
It's so true. For you, listeners need to know that we one time were doing something. We were putting our workshop. We're doing a lot of virtual working together, and she goes, "Oh, great! I have time to go get cookie dough." Okay, well, I'll say that my next question is, what is your favorite dessert? Which obviously must be cookie dough, unless there's another dessert that you like.
See, I don't think of cookie dough as a dessert. Like it's just like, something. I love grapefruit and cookie dough. Those are two things that I go to very often. I know, complete opposites.
No, but that works. We could use that as the meal. Okay. An activity you wish you did more of.
I maybe skiing. I don't get to ski as much as I used to.
That's a good one. An activity you wish you did less of.
Another activity I'd like to do more of is sleep. I'm not sure that counts. as an
No,
activity.
that's a good one. Get more sleep. I like that.
Less of. If I don't want to do it, I don't do it.
There you go. An activity that's relatively new to you, something you've recently tried that you like so much, you want to tell everybody else to try it.
Well, okay. I have been doing my 10,000 steps a day since the end of 22. Haven't missed a day. Well, I missed it by like a couple hundred steps, but it doesn't count. On average, I've hit, over 10,000 steps. And I've now been able to like jog. I know that's not a big deal. And I know it's not new to other people, but I've always had shin splints. And I've finally gotten to a place where I can actually run on the treadmill, jog, we'll call it jogging. My version of running.
Right.
For 5-10 minutes in a row, which for me is amazing. So
Awesome.
I'm feeling very good about myself.
I like it. If I could snap my fingers and Michelle Tillis Lederman could be anywhere in the world, where is she?
Everywhere.
Wow.
I haven't been to New Zealand yet. I haven't been to Antarctica yet. We're talking about Scandinavia right now. There's a lot of South America I have yet to see. I want to go everywhere. I have a goal of seeing 100 countries in my lifetime. I'm about 75% of the way towards that goal. So I have a very big list of places I still want to get to.
My connecting sister from another mister, Michelle Tillis Lederman. Pleasure to have you back on Thrive Loud. Even more honored to be part of the Connected Leader Club with you, leading this initiative. It's been truly a heartfelt joy. We've gotten to know each other in so many ways that we have no idea. But I also think we have a real cool message in it, and to partner with you is an honor. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for everything that you do.
Thanks for having me on, and thank you for trusting me.
To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
Clap along if you know what happiness is. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Come on.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.